Ever find yourself staring at your phone, waiting for like an app to load?
Oh, yeah.
And you're wondering, like, what's the holdup?
Right. What's
Yeah.
going on here?
Today's deep dive, we're going behind the scenes to explore the world of database connection strings. Hmm.
Okay.
You know,
I like it. I like
it's
it.
something that we all kind of take for granted.
Yeah.
But every time a website pulls up your information, whether it's your latest social media post or, your bank balance, there's this thing, a connection string, that is quietly working its magic.
Yeah, it's more common than you think.
Right.
Like every time basically a website have to remember something about you or pull up some information, it's talking to a database. And that connection is made by this thing called a connection string.
And it's like the hidden language, right?
It is, yeah.
That lets
Let's see it,
websites
right.
and databases talk to each other.
Yeah, like these two things speak completely different languages, and so you need a translator.
Yeah.
And that's what the connection string does.
And so we're lucky enough to have some insights from plus2net.com. Have you ever heard of this website?
Yeah, Plus2Net is a great resource for kind of all things programming.
Yeah, they're like programming whizzes over there.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah.
But they break it down in a way that even I can kind of get it.
Yeah.
So
And they break it down?
they specifically dive into MySQLi,
Right.
which is a super common way to connect to MySQL databases.
Right.
Now,
Extremely common.
I don't know if you want to get into like the nitty-gritty of that, but for those who are maybe not as familiar.
Yeah, so MySQL itself is a database, right?
Yeah.
It's a way to store information on a computer. Think of it like an overpowered spreadsheet.
Okay.
MySQL is a specific way that you can connect to that database from code.
Gotcha. So it's like you said a translator earlier. Maybe it's like the specific
Yeah,
dialect or something.
Yeah, you speak MySQL to the database, but you actually speak MySQL to get to that database from your code.
Okay, so they provide, and this is what I love about Plus2Net, they actually give you the code.
Oh, yeah?
They're not afraid to show the code.
They're not messing around.
They even mention that they store this code in a file called config.php.
Right.
Now, that .php,
There it is.
that's a telltale sign
That's our bread and butter right there.
that this code is meant for a web server.
Exactly. And the reason for that, well, one of the many reasons,
Mhm.
is that web servers know how to run PHP code. And PHP in itself is just another language that you use to build websites.
Got it. Okay. So let's kind of break down this code a little bit.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's unpack it.
Because you've got like your host,
Yeah,
which is kind of like the address of the database server.
exactly.
You've got the username and password,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of like,
Your login.
yeah, it's your credentials.
It's exactly how you log into your computer,
Right.
except you're logging into a database.
Exactly. And then you've got the database name,
Right.
which specifies
Which one you want.
which specific database to access.
Yeah, because you could have many.
Now, something that I always see with this, and I'm sure you see it all the time.
Is this term localhost?
Right.
What is localhost?
So localhost is the idea that the database is on the same server as the website itself.
So it's like in the same room.
It's in the same room.
Oh,
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like if you're working on a project and you have all your files in your computer, that's localhost.
Okay.
It's very convenient because it's fast.
Right.
You don't have to go over the internet.
Right. Because you think about it, like sometimes a website loads faster if
Sure, yeah.
you've been there before because it's cached.
Yep.
So this is kind of a similar idea.
Yeah, it can have a very similar effect.
But with that convenience
Yeah.
comes the need for even more security, I would think.
100%.
Right.
So if someone compromises your website
Mm-hmm.
and your database is on that same server, they now have access to both.
It's all right there.
It's all in the same house, yeah.
So Plus2Net actually emphasizes this.
Right.
They even mention like not directly embedding passwords in the code,
Right.
which is a very, very bad thing to do.
Huge no-no.
But there are ways like environment variables, right?
Yeah, there are much more secure ways to store that information.
That we won't get into today.
We could do a whole deep dive on that.
We could do a whole deep dive just on that.
Exactly. Security.
So another thing they highlight, which I think is really important,
Yeah.
is this idea of error handling
Oh, it's so
in
important.
their code example.
Right.
Because imagine you're going to like your bank website
Right.
and you're trying to log in and, the connection times out. Without proper error handling, the website might just crash and you're left wondering,
Yeah, you're left in the dark.
what just happened?
Yeah, what's going on here?
But with robust error handling,
Right.
the website can kind of gracefully handle those hiccups, maybe display a helpful error message, try again later.
Exactly. Or might even tell you what happened. Hey, the connection timed out. Try again in a minute.
Oh,
Instead of just giving you the white screen of death.
right, right.
Which is never fun.
It's like having a backup generator that kicks in if the power goes out.
Yeah, keep things running.
Keep everything running smoothly.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Like a backup generator kicks in, and you don't even know the power went out. That's good error handling.
Exactly.
You just keep going about your day.
And that's what you want, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want that seamless experience.
Yep.
And all this to say that while Plus2Net is focusing on, connecting to a MySQL database that's hosted on their own servers,
Right.
they also have an example of connecting to a database on Google Cloud.
Right.
So no matter where the database lives, whether it's a personal server or in the cloud,
It's the same concept.
these same principles apply.
It's just in a different location.
Right.
So whether your database is in your house or on Google's computers, which is essentially what the cloud is, it's the same idea.
So the underlying technology might be different.
Right.
But the fundamental idea is the same.
At its core, yeah, same concept.
It's all about, I think, securely and reliably bridging the gap between websites and this vast amount of data that we all rely on.
Yeah, bridging the gap is a great way to put it. Because again, they speak different languages, and you got to connect those two.
Yeah, it makes you appreciate this invisible world of code that we kind of take for granted.
All the time, all around us.
That powers our online experience, right?
Yep.
We don't even realize it's there, but it's there.
It's working, hopefully.
Hopefully it's working.
Most of the time.
If it's not, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, then we know about it.
Then we know about it.
Yeah, we're on hold with customer service.
Exactly. Exactly.
For sure.
But we've focused on MySQLi and PHP in this deep dive.
Right.
And that's just, it's one way to skin a cat, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of other databases.
Like, what are some of the other?
So you got things like PostgreSQL, which is very popular. You've got MongoDB, which is very different, but still a database.
Okay.
And they all have their own kind of languages and ways to connect.
So it gets even more complex.
Oh, yeah.
The deeper you go.
It's a rabbit hole for sure.
It is a rabbit hole. And I think, it makes you wonder, with the way data storage is constantly evolving, what's the future hold for these connection strings?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. Are we going to move to even more secure and efficient ways of doing it?
Right. Could you imagine, I don't know.
What's the next thing?
Like AI-powered connection strings?
Ooh.
I don't know,
Who knows? Maybe.
But it's certainly something to think about.
Yeah.
As we become more and more reliant on these databases.
For sure. I mean, think about the amount of data that we generate every day.
Oh my gosh, it's only increasing.
Yeah, it's exploding. And so we got to store it somewhere.
And we got to access it safely and reliably.
Securely, reliably, and quickly. Quickly is the other one.
That's right. Well, on that note, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, I love this stuff.
Into this really kind of behind-the-scenes world.
Under the hood.
Of database connection strings.
Love it.
And who knew,
They're more exciting than they sound.
They're actually very interesting, right?
Yeah, once you start to peel back the layers.
It's like, wow.
There's a lot going on there.
There's so much happening.
Yeah.
That we just take for granted.
All the time.
But for our listeners out there, the next time you're waiting for an app to load, just think, there might be a connection string working behind the scenes.
There it is. Working its magic.
Trying to get you your data.
Struggle bus sometimes.
That's right.
But it's usually there.
Getting it done.
All
right, that's it for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See